only 10% of leaders had self-awareness. One aspect can help every single leader do better. If you want to have lasting impact in the lives of others, take care of yourself first. And I used to think the same thing until I had kids. We hide behind our accolades. We hide behind our success. We hide behind our marital status. We hide behind our wealth. Take the time to look in the mirror so that you can see others better. This is an incredible leadership insight. But if you were to ask not why questions, but what questions, what can I do different? We want to see you win, and we want you to lead with excellence.
This is The Deep Dive with Jose St. Phard.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. I'm your host, Jose St. Phard. If you've ever wondered why some leaders can create lasting impact, inspire incredible change, while others falter or movements die out, today's episode is for you. Today, we're talking about an often overlooked leadership principle, an asset for every leader to have: self-awareness. Today, we want to ensure that every leader leads themselves well so that they can lead others better. Because let's face it, if you do not lead yourself well, you will not be able to lead others effectively. So today, let's dive deep. Today, we're diving into self-awareness. What most people call emotional intelligence. It's a component of emotional intelligence. I believe that this one leadership principle, this one aspect can help every single leader do better. Self-awareness is so important for every leader to have. As a leader who mentors several aspiring leaders, one of the things that people ask me all the time is, what is the one asset that you think every leader should have or try to acquire? And I believe that's self-awareness. Self-awareness is a fundamental asset for any leader who wants to lead others effectively. Self-awareness helps us lead with excellence. I want you to do this. Think about a leader that you've absolutely loved to work with. Think about a leader that you couldn't wait to be on their team, to connect with them, to do a project together. Think about that person and how they made you feel. And then I want you to think about a leader that you could not stand. You didn't want to be on their team. You didn't want to work with them. You didn't like working with them. I want you to think about, what did that one leader have that made it so pleasant to work with them? And what did that other leader have that made it absolutely discouraging to work with them? Chances are, if you really think about it, is that one leader showed empathy, cared about you, listened well, managed the team effectively, didn't allow for constant gossip and constant criticism. That one leader had self-awareness. The other leader didn't know how to listen well, didn't know how to manage a team effectively, didn't understand how to manage the emotions, the stressors that were in that group. And the truth of the matter is, very few leaders know how to do this. Self-awareness is so important that Google did years of research. They called it Project Aristotle. And as they researched, they were trying to understand how to build the perfect team. They looked at all the data. They looked at all the components, asked several questions of several different teams, and they couldn't figure out what was it that made some teams excel and the others didn't. And finally, after years of trying to put the data together, they realized one thing, that the thing that made the difference, that made teams thrive, it wasn't competence, it wasn't intelligence, it wasn't that some teams had a lot of talent, some had introverts and some had extroverts. All the things they put together, none of those things made a major difference. The thing that made a major difference was psychological safety. Teams that reported that they were safe, that they felt safe to work in that team, safe to make mistakes, safe to talk about what they thought and what they didn't think, safe to understand how other people in the group felt. Those teams excelled and they loved working together. So the number one component was psychological safety. What builds psychological safety? Leaders who are emotionally intelligent, leaders who are very self-aware. So here's a surprising stat. Harvard Business Review published this stat and it blew my mind. It said that only 10% of leaders had self-awareness. Now, most leaders think that they're very self-aware. Most people believe that they're self-aware. In fact, as you're listening to me, you might think I'm one of those people who are very self-aware. And I used to think the same thing until I had kids. Children really will bring out this idea in you. One of the things that I realized as a leader is that if I am not managing my own emotions well, I will not be able to manage and lead others better. Self-awareness is understanding your emotions in real time and being able to regulate them, navigating your emotions and the impact of your actions on others. It's also how others view you, understanding objectively how others view you and how your emotions impact them. So there are two components of self-awareness. The first one is what we call personal competence. Personal competence is understanding your own emotions, understanding them in real time, having a good grasp of them, and navigating them with how others are feeling around you. So personal competence is objectively seeing your values, reactions, and impact on the lives of others. Social competence is understanding how others perceive you and how your emotions impact them. Self-awareness is not something new. So Jesus, one of the greatest leaders who've ever lived, talked about self-awareness in this way. He says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your own eye,' when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." Here, Jesus is mind-blowingly good. This is an incredible leadership insight. Jesus is saying, if you want to lead others transformationally, if you want to lead effectively, if you want to have lasting impact in the lives of others, take care of yourself first. Lead yourself well, and you'll be able to lead others better. Just think about this incredible insight that Jesus has just said. He says that why would you take time to look at the speck or the piece of sawdust in your brother's eye when the whole time you have a plank in your own eye? This is Self-awareness 101. Jesus is saying that while you're looking at your brother's eye and perhaps being critical of them, that the whole time everyone around you sees the plank in your own eye. It's wild. It's crazy. He's saying you're walking around with a plank in your own eye and you're busy trying to figure out what that speck is in your brother's eye. It is a lack of understanding that you have a plank in your own eye. That plank in your eye is obvious to everyone. That is just saying that there are things that are obvious to others that we miss. There are things that are obvious to all those around us that we lack an understanding of. And the important thing, in order to be able to lead others better, in order to take the speck out of your brother's eye, you have to first care for the plank in your own eye. So true self-awareness, in the words of Jesus, is not comforting. It's not about what are my strengths and what am I good at and what are some things that I need to do better or I need to do so that others can do better. This is really good, feel good self-awareness. The sort of self-awareness we're talking about that's critical to leadership is the type that discomforts us, that brings us into discomfort, that calls us to look in the mirror, to truly look at ourselves and look at our weaknesses, to understand how our biases, to look at what are the things that are hindering us, the things that we don't know, that we think we know, that actually impact our leadership. Self-awareness isn't pretty and it's not fun. It's discomforting, but it brings us to the place of transformation. It calls us to see ourselves well so that others can see us better. Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. The truth of the matter is, we like to hide. We hide behind our accolades. We hide behind our success. We hide behind our marital status. We hide behind our wealth. But sooner or later, we will be found out. And that's the thing that Jesus is trying to avoid. He's saying, take care of the plank. Sooner or later, someone's going to mention you have a plank in your eye. No one has done it before. No one has said it so far, but someone will help you understand that while you're taking the time, taking the speck out of someone else's eye, you have a plank in your eye. So take care of the plank. It's blinding you. You're not able to lead well because you're not seeing well. So Jesus is saying, take the time to look in the mirror so that you can see others better. So one of the things I said was that this is both good news and bad news. The bad news is that only 10% of leaders actually have self-awareness. The good news is that 100% of leaders can grow self-awareness. This is something you and I can get better at. This is something you and I can improve. And here's the ways that I've been working on myself. And here's, I think, that could work for you. Here are some strategies I believe that can work for you. So the first one is to get a trigger journal. You could use this on your phone. You can put it on your iPad. You can grab a notebook. But I want you to take time to actually reflect what's happening in your life. Most people are not focused on what's happening at the time it's happening. Most of us are living without focus. We don't really are aware of what is it we're feeling, what is it going on around us, what is it that's triggering us. So I want you to take some time to create a trigger journal. Anytime you're upset, anytime you're frustrated, anytime you feel a little bit off, I want you to write down, what is it that you're feeling? Why are you feeling that way? What are the circumstances that have brought on this feeling? And I want you to just write it down. And over time, over a few weeks, I want you to go back and look at the patterns. And that will tell you what triggers you. Knowing what triggers you is incredibly necessary in order to lead yourself well. So, because here's the thing, once you become aware of what triggers you, it's really hard not to do something about it. Once you realize what it is that triggers you, it's hard to just do nothing. And so take the time, create a trigger journal. The second thing I want you to do is to create a gratitude journal. One of the greatest issues with self-awareness is it's very hard to be aware when you're constantly under stress. It's very hard to lead others better when you're constantly on survival mode. And one of the things that we fail to do in this culture of consumerism is to be grateful for the things we already have. And so a gratitude journal is something you do in the morning, at night, anytime you can reflect, and just take time. What are the things you're grateful for? It's beyond what am I thankful for. It's what are the things that I realize, man, I can't believe I have this. I can't believe I get to do this. I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe, wow, look what I've been given. Look what God has given me. Gratitude, creating and cultivating an attitude of gratitude minimizes stress. This is psychologically proven. This is scientifically proven that those who practice gratitude have less stress. So take on a gratitude journal. The third thing I want you to do is learn to meditate. Meditate on the promises of God. Often we are constantly worrying about what's going wrong, what's not going right, what's happening. But meditation is worrying in reverse. It's thinking over and over again about the promises God has given us. And that's why you see David constantly meditating. The Psalms are his journals. David, the greatest king, one of the founding kings of Israel, practiced a meditation, constantly reminding himself of who God is and who and what God has done in his life. He says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name." He thinks of the promises of God. Be still and know that I am God. I want you to take a promise. One of the promises for me that I really love is this promise where Jesus says, "Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me." He is very clear. He says, don't let your heart be troubled. That is, in your life, do not allow the troubles of this world to overwhelm you. So meditate on that. Think about that over and over again. Am I letting my heart be troubled? Am I allowing trouble to trouble me? Let me remind myself of who God is and what he has done in my life already. The fourth thing I want you to do, and this is an important thing, is ask better questions. One of the things that researchers found is that those who were introspective, introverted, constantly in their own minds, that you would think that, hey, these people, they're self-aware. Well, the truth of the matter is those people often are depressed. Anxious thoughts are constantly in their minds. And it's because they're asking the wrong questions. They're going, why am I like this? Why is this happening? Why can't I get this right? And here's the thing. When we ask questions focus us in on something, and it blurs out everything else. If I were to ask you right now to look out on the road and I said, I want you to count how many Hondas are on the highway as you're driving right now. If I were to say, while you're looking out, how many trees are there? You would focus in. That question will focus in on all the trees. When you get a new car, you get a Toyota or a Honda or a Ford, all of a sudden you start recognizing the other Fords. You start looking at, oh, there's another Ford, there's another Toyota. Because when you're asking yourself these questions, it focuses you in. And what happens is it takes away everything else. So what you need to do is ask better questions. If I ask, why am I like this? Why is this going on? My brain is going to answer me those questions. Oh, it's because of this. It's because of your childhood. It's because of that. And you're going to think, oh, there it is. And now you're creating a whole narrative around it. But if you were to ask not why questions, but what questions? What can I do differently? What is it about this morning that I could have done? What can I do tomorrow? What about the things that I've done well? What questions creates exploration, allows me to do something about it? So asking better questions, instead of just reflecting on why something happened, also ask, what can I do? Not only why, but what. So here it is. Great leadership starts with leading yourself well. That's the key. If you do not lead yourself well, you will lead others poorly. You might get by, but you will not thrive. You will survive with just focusing on leading other people, but you will not thrive if you do not take the time to lead yourself better. And so I hope that this has been an incredible episode for you. I hope you can share it with your friends. I hope you can like our page, subscribe to our channel, because we're going to be pouring in more and more into you. We want to see you win as a leader in the church, in business, in our culture, in this world. We want to see you win, and we want you to lead with excellence. Thanks again for listening to this episode of The Deep Dive. I hope that it was a blessing for you. If it could be a blessing for anyone on your team, a friend that you know, please share this, subscribe to our channel. Let us know in the comments how you felt. What were some questions or insights that you might have that you're wondering to know about? We'd love to connect with you. You can connect with me on all my socials. I'll put it on the screen, and make sure that you let someone else know that it's time to dive deep. I want you to win in leadership. I want you to win at life. Let's do this together. Let's dive deep.
This is The Deep Dive with Jose St. Phard.